Hi everyone, this is Valeria Popov. I want to share my story first. During my last pregnancy, I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes, and I was scared and I was on insulin, and my dose kept growing of insulin. And I decided that I want to try and switch to plant-based, exclusively whole food lifestyle. And it worked for me. And not only I reversed my gestational diabetes, I got off insulin, I lost all my weight, I got rid of my allergies and constant constipation. And since then, I got so many benefits, and now I want to share it with more people. And nowadays, I've been struggling for some time. I've been struggling with overeating. Not anymore though, but I know that it's a hot topic, especially now during the coronavirus. People struggle with overeating and struggle with food addictions because we're isolated. So this is kind of like a comfort-seeking mode. And today I am going to be talking with Susan Jones about overeating. And Susan, would you introduce yourself and let people know who you are and what you do?
Yes, thank you, Valeria. I'm so happy to be with you again. So my name is Susan Smith Jones, and for decades I've had a passion of teaching people around the world how to be healthy and fit and physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I learned all about this when I was a teenager from my grandmother when I was very, very sick. And she took me under her wings, and for years she worked with me and taught me about holistic health and lifestyle. So now I share this with people worldwide. In 33 books I've written, and my latest is Wired for High Level Wellness. And it's all about really getting back to the basics and knowing that health is so much more than jogging around the block and eating a few healthy foods. It goes much deeper than that because all the choices we make every day reflect our level of self-esteem. So self-esteem in my new book is the central theme. And you can find out much more about my work and this new book if you go to my website, susansmithjones.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Susan. And I absolutely love what you do and your story. It fascinates me every time when I think about your story. It's a beautiful one. Susan, can we talk about the physiology of stress and what happens in the body with our hormones when we're stressed out?
Yes, and Valeria, that's a great place to start because it's an incredible story. And I want to try to make it as simple as possible so people will see the tie-in between your stress level and your food addictions and your cravings and maybe your depression. And we want to get people on a healthy track. So all day long, day after day, stressful events in your life are triggering hormonal reactions in your body, in your beautiful, miraculous body. And if these reactions start to overwhelm your body's capacity to deal with them, maybe either because there's simply too many of them or they are too intense, it can burden you physically. And medical experts now believe that this stress-induced burden is at the root of many degenerative disease processes and food cravings and addictions. So in other words, stress has a biological as well as an emotional effect on you. And over time, Valeria, it can diminish your body's ability to fortify, protect, regenerate, and heal itself. And stress can affect you in so many different ways, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Stress can precipitate high blood pressure, heart problems. In fact, you and I talked about this last time we were together. Fatigue, muscle and joint pain, headache, backache, anxiety, irritability, insomnia, gastrointestinal distress, and that ever-growing culprit, obesity. And although a certain amount of appropriate stress actually can be beneficial, high amounts of stress can be very detrimental, making you vulnerable to illness. So, all right, what causes stress? It can be triggered by emotions like, let's see, like anger, fear, worry, grief, depression, and guilt. It can be the result of a physical trauma, such as those caused by injury or accident or even surgery. Everyday pressures like family squabbles or impossible bosses or unfaithful spouses or unruly teens, and I'm not talking about myself, or overdue bills can also cause stress. Even extreme changes in your sleep pattern, your diet, your exercise, or even the climate in which you live can create stress. So can chronic illness, pain, allergies, and inflammation. So, Valeria, what's important here is that too much work, in fact, too much of anything, can also create stress that can lead to depression. And stress and depression are very closely tied together, especially in women. And study after study has found that women, not surprisingly, suffer from both stress and depression more often than men.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything. And especially being right now in the zone of the COVID-19, it's something that people get to understand the nature of it, and not only in the context of overeating, it's the overall health, mental and physical. Can you give us an example of one of your clients you've worked with to show us the connection between stress and depression and how it affects cravings and addictions?
Yes, yes, yes. Now, this is a great question, and it will help everyone understand physiologically what happens when we're under a lot of stress. Last year, she's still my client, but last year I started working with Lisa. She's a good example of the connection between stress and depression. And depression made it really difficult for her to get up in the morning and face each day. She was a hardworking single mother of 2 children in her late 30s, so just to give you an idea of who she was, and on the verge of becoming a partner in a law firm, which, by the way, she now is. So in addition to putting in those long hours at the office, she had to commute 90 minutes each way in heavy traffic. Now, I could never do that, but that's what she had to do. And when she finally arrived home in the evenings, she was greeted by this cacophonous rap music blasting from her teenage son's room. So with no time to call her own, she felt like she had an endless list of things to do that never got completed. And although she tried to watch her diet and to squeeze in a couple hours a week on her home treadmill, she found that she was gaining weight monthly and could not control her cravings and addictions for unhealthy foods. So at our first session in my office, Lisa spoke to me through uncontrollable tears. I'll never forget that day. And in addition to admitting that she was having a hard time just getting out of bed in the morning, she said that she had a feeling of crippling despair for years. And just a few months after her divorce, when Lisa thought she was beginning to put her whole life back together, her mother died of cancer. And then although her friends and neighbors, she told me, all applauded her outward strength and ability to rise above these challenges and tragedies, inside Lisa felt like she was losing control of herself and her life. So I listened to Lisa's story, and it became clear to me, Valeria, that she was in the midst of a severe depression. And I explained to her and other people that come to me with depression that the physiological root of depression is often the chronic, overwhelming floods of hormones that release during times of extreme stress. And I mentioned to her that sometimes, you can see that depression could be viewed as anger with no place to go. So for Lisa and millions like her, finding ways to relieve the stress would make the difference between waking refreshed and bounding out of bed early morning to face the day, or waking in a fog of depression, which is what she was doing, wanting to stay in bed and hiding under the dark blanket of despair. So here we go. Physiologically speaking, if you fight rush hour traffic, or you face a wall of rap music at the end of your demanding day, here's what happens. Your brain, with the best of intentions, sounds an alarm. Your heart rate will accelerate, your blood sugar soars, and an army of endorphins marches out to dull the potential pain. And then there's a wave of neurotransmitters, serotonin among them, that spreads the alarm from cell to cell, over and over throughout your nervous system. The hypothalamus also gets in on the act, releasing a hormone called CRH that signals for the release of other hormones. CRH, by the way, is corticotropin releasing hormone. It's like an orchestra leader, a leader of the big musical orchestra of hormones. And then also the adrenal glands on top of the kidneys send out stress hormones of adrenaline, DHEA, and cortisol, also known as steroid hormones. By the way, DHEA stands for dehydroepiandrosterone, a great word, Valeria, to bring up at a boring party. And then just to finalize this, these substances that are all released are usually very body friendly and serve to protect us by increasing our alertness and our strength to do what needs to be done. But the problem comes when stress is prolonged and the chemicals' normal routes change, and in other words, serotonin tends to hasten away too quickly. Serotonin is that mood lifting hormone. The DHEA can make itself scarce, and cortisol can overstay its welcome. So this is what happens inside your body when you're under acute short-term stress or long-term stress.
Yes, thank you so much. That's a great explanation. And we already touched on cortisol, but teach us about cortisol's role in stress and hormone balance.
Yes, and now we always hear about cortisol, don't we? The stress hormone. And it's produced by the adrenal glands, and it's commonly called, also known as, stress hormone. But cortisol helps the body cope with all kinds of stress, from infection to fright, to a major job change or a move to a new home, from a wedding to a divorce, from birth to even death. Cortisol is always there to help us along. It normally would be our friend. So whether, Valeria, you're facing an emergency, an accident, a confrontation, or you're just trying to do your job and get in some good exercise, cortisol is there to get you up and going, to help you get through the day. Now, the immune system, the blood vessels, and the muscles in our body all rely on cortisol for strength and proper function. Cortisol even prevents the loss of too much sodium from the body and helps maintain the proper blood pressure as well. It also helps to suppress reactions in the body like pain or allergic reactions or inflammation. But sometimes, and this is most interesting of all to me, cortisol helps the body protect itself from itself. For example, let's say you're doing a really strenuous workout, harder than you've done in a long time. The body breaks down fat and muscle tissue to produce energy. Most people know that. And in order to prevent the immune system from recognizing all of these tissue molecules as foreign invaders, the body produces more cortisol and gently suppresses the immune response so that the body does not go on red alert when it doesn't have to. And the cortisol that can flood your system, Valeria, to assist you in emergencies helps to provide your body with nutrients that you need to cope with the stress. That's why it's known as the stress hormone. So typically, though, in a normal day-to-day situations when you're not under a lot of stress chronically, once you've managed a stressful situation, like a good hard workout, the brain shuts off the production of the cortisol, your physical reactions subside, and you're soon back to normal. But there's another side to the cortisol story, and this has to do with the stress and fat accumulation and addictions and cravings. If the brain perceives that the stress is ongoing or chronic, it can override the signal to shut off the cortisol production. And under those circumstances, cortisol production will stay elevated as long as the brain thinks the body needs it to cope with what it is experiencing. Keep that in mind, because in a little bit we'll talk about attitude, and stress has a whole lot more to do with attitude. And so we'll put that on the back burner for right now. So as important and necessary as cortisol is, you can have too much of it. And if too much cortisol stays in the body for too long, then a damaging cycle can begin that can lead to blood sugar problems, fat accumulation, compromised immune function, exhaustion, bone loss, even heart disease. And it also can lead to nutrient-poor food cravings and addictions. So if, like Lisa, you experience one major stress after another, and if you haven't created ways to reduce and release the stress, which we'll talk about a little bit later, it can have a detrimental effect on your health.
Yes, it's fascinating. I knew a lot about cortisol, but not as deep as you were just talking about it. It's absolutely fascinating, and the ability of our body too. It's something that very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, you're so right. It's like miraculous what the millions of reactions that take place in our body, and often in a second, all of a sudden you get good news or bad news or whatever it is, and the body just does what it's designed to do. It is so miraculous to me. I believe that God's given us this miraculous gift of a body, and one of our many gifts we can give back to our Creator is to really take loving care of our bodies. And one of the ways we can do that is learn how to manage stress well.
Yes, thank you. Susan, what would you say to people who are continually under the gun in their lifestyle?
Good question. No one's ever asked me that, and so many people are going through that right now. So I would answer that by saying, just like everything in nature, Valeria, the body is in a continuous state of regeneration. It's constantly building itself up, like when you sleep at night, tearing itself down, like when you work out, you tear down muscle, and rebuilds itself all over again. It's really quite miraculous. And cortisol levels go up to provide the body with energy, but it breaks down tissue in order to do this. So once the job is done, the body has to rebuild and recuperate. And that's when the DHEA comes into play to help the body recuperate and get back to normal. And DHEA and cortisol work together under normal conditions to handle stress. So everyone, think back to the last time you felt a big rush of adrenaline. I know I felt it recently when I was invited to appear on an international television talk show. You can almost physiologically and physically feel the adrenaline going through your body. And we experience these adrenaline rushes when we react to something that excites us, frightens us, surprises us, or makes us angry. And an adrenaline rush is the first in the chain reaction of hormonal events. It's the signal that sets in motion the release of the cortisol and the DHEA, which are hormones that help us to take action, to get the job done, or maybe it's just to get a point across. You're having a discussion or an argument with someone. However, in response to you asked about what if you're always under the gun, Valeria, if you are, which can mean anything from a continual struggle to make financial ends meet to traveling all the time because you're at the peak of success in your career, or maybe you're a stay-at-home mom and you do homeschooling, then you constantly have stress hormones flooding into your bloodstream. And when this happens, your adrenal glands can become overworked and exhausted. And over time, if you don't manage stress well, the excess wear and tear on your adrenal glands can be very serious and creating major disease. And given the stress that most people are under these days, it's no wonder that 80 to 90% of diseases are stress related.
So I'm actually wondering about something in our body. Is cortisol highest in the morning or the nighttime?
Oh, excellent question. Very good. Actually, I've never had anyone ask me this either. I love this. And it's fascinating too, because in the natural rhythm, the body produces, and women, you're going to love this, and you're going to want to let your partner, spouse, listen to what I'm about to say. In a natural rhythm, the body produces more cortisol in the morning than in the evening. And this, why? Because it helps you get up and get going. It also helps you get through your day. And at the end of the day, your cortisol level should be going down. And one recent study demonstrated that when men come home from work, Valeria, their cortisol levels go down. This is what is supposed to happen when you come home and you wind down. However, the same study showed that the cortisol levels of women like Lisa, my client, who work outside the home and still have primary responsibility for taking care of the homes and the families, it will stay elevated in the evening. And this is evidence that the bodies are responding to the stress of what's called a second shift. A second shift. Women who have high cortisol and low DHEA levels, by the way, you can get all your hormone levels checked. These women experience quite frequently panic attacks and a strange feeling of being both anxious and exhausted at the same time, and are also more inclined to have food addictions and cravings for nutrient poor food.
Yeah, so when you were just talking about, I was thinking it's like a recipe for a disaster. For it's something that will deteriorate your mind and your body. It's absolutely fascinating. Susan, let's get more specific now about stress and food cravings, weight gain, metabolism, and feeling in control about our food choices.
Yes, yes. All right. So let me think. So everyday pressures, Valeria, and this is according to some recent research and surveys, cause 9 out of 10 of us to look to food for comfort. I wonder how many listening can identify with that. In fact, almost 40% of Americans polled, and it's the same in the UK, polled, say that they always eat when they see food. And I don't mean seafood from the ocean, I mean SEE, when they view the food. And this survey didn't even factor in how this pattern is affected when we're under stress. But if you're one of those people who turn to food during stressful periods in your life, please don't be so hard on yourself. What at first may seem like bad eating habits are, in fact, our body's natural reaction to stress. And even strict dieting can actually make you more stressed out and more prone to gain weight. So if you are wound up as tight as a spring, like a lot of people are, like have you ever had a tension, a curtain tension rod that you put the curtain on and you push it together? I think about that spring. If you're wound up as tight as a spring, then the brain sends out signals in the form of hunger to stockpile emergency fuel. But today, obviously, it's not because we're fleeing from tigers. It's our day-to-day stresses, struggling with overdue bills, unruly teens, home lockdown, inconsiderate neighbors, loud music. A neighbor gets a drum set. Speaking from personal experience here, relationship challenges, illnesses in the family, pandemic issues, terrorist threats, unending traffic, and other environmental stimulation. So here's what happens then, Valeria. We are left full of nervous tension, and we often will soothe it by chewing. I'm going to say that one more time. It's really important. So when we're under constant stress and we don't manage it well, we're often left full of nervous tension, and we often will soothe it by chewing. And that emergency fuel we stockpiled by eating a lot of calories, chewing, it stays stockpiled as fat, of course. And keep in mind, and we'll talk more about this in a moment, that when you're under a lot of stress and with a lot of cortisol swimming around your body, and combined with not getting enough sleep, then the following day, you don't get the good 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The following day, any willpower you have to eat healthy foods usually goes out the window, and you usually will grab nutrient poor junk foods, and your body will hold on to all the calories that it's eating, even good calories, even healthy food calories, if you're always under stress with a lot of cortisol and you don't sleep well at night. And just to summarize what I'm saying here, that to create instant energy in your body, let's say you need it for something really big and important, let's say your workout, the body will drain its nutritional reserves. And under extreme stress, most people probably know that we need extra good quality protein, such that you would find in green vegetables and their juices, and legumes like beans and lentils, and other superior plant-based sources. So I know, and I already know you're thinking, so what if we haven't eaten much that day and all of a sudden we're under a whole lot of stress? The body will use its own protein-rich tissues, namely the muscle. And keep in mind that in my book, Wired for High Level Wellness, and in one of my other books, Invest in Yourself with Exercise, you can read more about how important that lean muscle tissue is on your body to keeping your metabolism revved, increasing fat burning enzymes, and burning more calories even while sleeping. And for every pound of muscle destroyed through stress, our metabolism drops, burning approximately 50 fewer calories a day.
Susan, why is it that some people appear to thrive on stress while others suffer ill health?
Well, isn't that the truth? You know, I know people that love the stress. I'm the kind of person that I'd rather have a calm, peaceful life without overwhelming stress all the time, like a lot of people experience these days. But new studies suggest that it may not be the stress that lowers immunity, but whether we feel, and this is so important, a sense of control over the stress. There was this great Dutch study. Scientists compared two groups of men taking a math test under a barrage of noise. And those who could adjust the noise level had little change in immune function, while those who couldn't experienced a drop in immune cell production. So in many cases, like I said to you earlier, I'd touch on, feeling in control has more to do with your attitude than the situation. And in some of the tips that we'll talk about shortly, it's important to remember that you want to choose to be positive and optimistic, and remind yourself all the time that you're doing the best that you can. And if you remind yourself of that, it will do wonders towards keeping the negative repercussions of stress at bay. and vibrant health and peace of mind. To me, Valeria, peace of mind is the opposite of stress, but vibrant health and peace of mind go hand in hand, and you can't reach your potential for physical health without also being mentally fit as well. So we want to make choices that integrate and heal body, mind, and spirit. That's what living a high level wellness lifestyle is all about, as described in my book.
Susan, let's now make it very practical for our audience and go over your tips to get control over our eating habits and food cravings, and at the same time lower stress levels.
All right, so let's start with exercise. It's so important, Valeria, to exercise frequently. I don't mean you don't have to go exercise hours a day, but do it, and I don't mean religiously like on Easter and Christmas. I mean on a regular basis, a good 5 days a week. Walking is probably the most underrated of all exercise. And I always like to say to people, walk your dog every day, whether you have a dog or not. And how this relates to eating habits and cravings and food addictions. And I see this all the time with people all over the world that I've worked with for decades, that if you just change your diet and you don't exercise, it's a little bit more difficult to stick with a healthy diet. But if you exercise, that parlays into healthy eating habits. There are many reasons why this might happen. First of all, when you exercise, especially aerobic exercise, it releases in your body these happy hormones like endorphins and enkephalin and norepinephrine, and it boosts your spirit and empowers you, makes you feel great about yourself, boosts your self-esteem. So when you're feeling those happy hormones inside you, then it's easier after your workout. Let's say you're out in nature working out, or the gym, or your home gym, and then you go into the kitchen. You've just done such a good thing for your body that you're more apt to choose healthier foods. And also, it doesn't hurt to mention here that exercise will help you keep your weight under control. You and I talked about this last time we were together, but just to summarize, when you exercise, and I taught students, staff, and faculty at UCLA for 30 years how to be healthy and fit. And I've got a book devoted to it, Invest in Yourself with Exercise, and a whole webinar on my website on Invest in Yourself with Exercise. But it reduces inches. You'll look firmer and leaner, and you always want to remember muscle weighs more than fat. So instead of weighing yourself every day, which I don't recommend doing because it can fluctuate so much with hormones and what salt you might have had in your diet, measure yourself to see the changes in your hips, your thighs, in your waist. So I promise you that if you're listening right now and you haven't been exercising, if you start to exercise, it will help you make wiser, better, more salubrious, healthy eating choices.
Absolutely. Well, I've been throughout my whole life, I've been exercising, and I do notice when I will, especially with my pregnancies, I would stop exercising and how it affects me. It's very, very interesting. And the food, like as you mentioned, the food choices that you're going to make that day, if you exercise, would be much different than if you haven't been exercised. Could you, Susan, can you?
And you know what, Valeria, I love that you said that. And even though this isn't like monumentally important, but if you choose to exercise in the morning, like Henry David Thoreau has one of my most favorite quotes of ever, one of my most three, maybe top favorite quotes, and that is, an early morning walk is a blessing for the whole day. So if you wait till evening to exercise, and that will also rev up your metabolism, too close to bedtime, and it makes it harder to sleep, but then you don't get the benefit of all those happy hormones that were released in the morning from the exercise to help guide your choices throughout the day and make you feel empowered and motivated and positive. And and make you feel passionate and happy about life. So if at all possible, if you can get the exercise in the morning, I like to recommend that. And like eating habits, exercise, it really is a lifetime commitment. You don't just do it quickly now because you have a reunion or a birthday or anniversary coming up. It's got to be a lifetime commitment. And if you stop exercising, as most of you know, the beneficial effects are rapidly lost. It requires constant reinforcement, like with a diet, but daily exercise will improve the quality of your life, and studies show it will help you live longer. So those are all good things.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Susan, can we talk about the 21-day agreement?
Yes, I love this. It's funny, as a teenager decades ago, although, it just feels like a blink of an eye how quickly time goes by. But my grandmother taught me about this. Benjamin Franklin once said, "Whatever you do for 21 days will make or break a habit." And it's usually approximately 10 days to re-educate our taste buds. So I always encourage people to make a 21-day agreement to either bring something new into their life, like exercise, like drinking more water, like eating a plant-based diet, or giving up something that you know is not good for you, like eating dairy products, or even negative gossiping with other people. Because after 21 consecutive days, you will have established a new habit, Valeria, or you will no longer crave what it is you gave up. And the beauty of this is, we're not saying you've got to do it for a year or 6 months or 3 months, but most people can agree to 21 days. And in 21 days, you will have a new habit or no longer crave something. Maybe you give up salt and sugar and flour. If you go to my website, susansmithjones.com, and in the search bar, put 21-day agreement, and up will pop a page where I talk more about this. And then I have a form there that you can just print out that has it has lines, 21 lines, and 1 through 21, and a place to sign it. And up above, you're going to make a commitment if you wish. You say I, and there's a place for your name. So I, Susan, agree and commit to that for 21 days I will, and then you fill in what you're going to do. Yes, you could add in a couple things, like you could say I will work out, and make it easy so you don't set yourself up to fail. Don't say you're going to run 10 miles every day. You want positive reinforcement every month. It's good to do this. I usually start on the first of the month, but you don't have to. And then I go 21 days, and then that means that I make at least 12 positive changes in my life every year. So you might combine together every day for 21 days. I'll exercise for at least 20 minutes. So that's good. Don't say 5 hours or something. And I will also not eat anything with salt added, or I won't eat anything with white sugar or white flour. If you say you're going to run 10 miles a day, adopt a plant-based diet, meditate for 2 hours, not gossip, you'll be so overwhelmed. You'll be creating more stress in your life. And every time you want to do something and you don't honor your word, Valeria, when you say you're going to do something, whether it's with yourself or another person, and you don't follow through, you lose faith in yourself. And I believe that darkens your soul and causes depression. You've got to keep your word with other people, and most especially with yourself. But it's a really easy way, well, to stop food cravings and addictions. I'm saying 21 days is a short period of time. It's not always easy because we're creatures of habit. We're addicted to foods. And often when you go off sugars and oils and white flour, your body goes through a withdrawal, just like if you drink coffee and you go off coffee. what usually happens within 24 hours is you get a headache. And the headache shows that your body's doing a little house cleaning. And what a lot of people do erroneously and think is that, wow, I've got such a headache, I've got to have some coffee. And you drink a little bit of that offending substance, and then it will take the headache away. And you think, oh, good, this coffee's great for me, when in fact it just shut off your house cleaning. So, but here's the key point, that it's got to be 21 consecutive days in a row. If you don't do it on what you say you're going to do on day 3 or even day 19 or 20, you've got to start back over again. But you can commit to 21 days, and it is truly a miraculous and efficacious way to make simple changes in your life, 1 or 2 a month. Just think, at the end of the year, you've made 12 or 24 new beneficial changes, or gave up 12 things you knew weren't good for you. And Benjamin Franklin was a smart man.
So we have a couple of more minutes left. I have a couple of more minutes left with you. And can you share a bit more tips on how we can conquer overeating?
Okay, so I'm going to try to get to 11. I'll do this quickly. Of course, a plant-based diet. You and I both know this. It's the healthiest way to eat. And fruits and vegetables, a diet that's rich in beautiful fresh fruits and vegetables plays such a role in reducing the risk of major causes of illness and death, including cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, arthritis, vision loss, obesity, and more. And it's not often you're going to say, I'm craving, I have a food addiction for a beautiful salad. You'll find that you go 21 days on a beautiful plant-based diet, and not only will you look and feel better than you have in a long time, but you'll find that those food cravings and addictions are gone. And remember, we know this, Valeria, what you eat today, you crave tomorrow. So, and then you combine the eating with the exercise, and it's a winning combination. And let me just add to that, in terms of diet, stay away from salt and sugar and oil. They're very stimulating to the taste buds. They're very addicting. Food manufacturers knew exactly what they were doing, and they make you crave them more. So you just want to stay away from those foods, and you want to keep your body really hydrated with lots of fruits and vegetables and good purified water, because even a 3% drop in hydration, and that's a little bit, lowers metabolism, immunity, brain function, and it increases your craving for junk food. And as I said a few moments ago, you got to make sure you sleep well at night. If you sleep less than 7 to 8 sound hours at night, it makes your body the next day crave nutrient-poor foods. It makes you lose all your willpower, and it will also cause you to hold on into your body as fat all the calories you eat. So you've got to get sleep. I've got, let me see, about 5 more to go. Probably, any thoughts on your end?
I feel I feel, and I read about, and I talked to experts about sleep and how it's crucially important for the whole body, and especially the hormone balance, plus overeating, how it correlates and it goes together when we don't have enough sleep, and the food choices that we make the other day, and especially the sugar. We crave more sweets if we don't sleep well. Or it's not in sleep too, it's not only about the hours of sleep, it's the quality of sleep too. So like coffee and alcohol really, so some people think that, not think, but experience, when they will have like a glass of wine, then they fall asleep faster. But it doesn't mean that the sleep quality is actually better. It's actually worse. And the same with coffee. So that's something that I know about sleep for sure.
Yeah, you're so right about that. You don't get the good deep REM sleep when you have coffee or especially alcohol at night. People think, oh, I'll have a glass of wine and I'll sleep really well. No, you don't get the real deep benefits of the sleep.
What else do you have under your sleep?
Yeah. Well, okay, so I know you're into this with your children. You want to do grounding and earthing, and that means to walk barefoot on the surface of the earth, like on the grass in your backyard or at the beach or wherever you are, without shoes. This, remember I talked earlier about nervous tension that causes too much cortisol in your body. When you ground and do earthing, you reduce the nervous tension. It increases the electrons in your body, and that will help you promote for you wiser food choices. And in people that really have an issue with food addictions and cravings, I suggest that before every meal or snack, hopefully if you have a yard, it's not cement you want to walk on, it would be grass or just the earth, even if it's dirt, barefoot. You want to take a 5-minute walk before your meal. In fact, when I do that, Valerie, that's when I say my grace before the meal. Thank you, God, for this food and the meal to bless my body and help me to be healthy. And you'll marvel and dazzle at how much more control you have over your food choices when you do a little earthing and grounding. And all of this info we're talking about is in my book, Wired for High Level Wellness. I also suggest that you visualize, you meditate, and you pray. I have 2 big chapters about meditation, which I've done for decades in Wired for High Level Wellness. Meditation is just really a way, I could talk about it for hours, but in a nutshell, organic walnut nutshell. Meditation is a way to unplug from the hustle and bustle of everyday living. And it's often with all this outside noise and the chatter of our brains too, that can drown out our inner life. We've got a beautiful inner life most people don't know about. And to me, it's the music of the soul. And it's when you're in silence and solitude and you go within that you can nurture your spiritual life. So I recommend that you pray. And I'm just going to say one of my favorite quotes in the Bible from Romans 12:12. It's, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. I love that. And you could sit down and close your eyes and get away from everyone in your house if possible. Often the bathroom is the place to do that, by the way. But you could just breathe in and out slowly and deeply. And as you breathe in, we'll use the word stillness. You breathe in to still. As you slowly inhale, you say it quietly to yourself, and then you breathe out to ness, stillness. Or you could breathe into peace, and you could breathe out and hold the breath a few seconds, and then slowly breathe out to be still. So breathe into peace, and then breathe out to the words, be still. So those are just things that you can do, or focus on your breath. And it will make a world of difference if you practice some meditation every day, at least 5 minutes. I bookend my day, morning and evening. But if you practice some type of meditation, and I teach you how to do it in my book, then you'll find that it's much easier to make those healthy lifestyle choices, like what you eat and how you exercise. And along with earthing and grounding, you want to spend time in nature, wherever you can be, in the mountains, in the desert, in the ocean, in a local park that's near your home, because these places in nature give off negative ions. Paradoxically, the negative ions are what boost your spirit, increase serotonin, make you feel good, make your mood better. And that's why I said to you before each meal, if I can do this, I'll go into my yard, my shoes are off, and I walk barefoot. 2 more quick things. I highly recommend to keep your stress level down, to declutter your home and your office, and including your car and your garage, but especially your immediate living space. When you're surrounded by clutter, Valeria, it increases that nervous tension in your body, even though you might not know it. And they test that by using an EMG, an electromyograph machine, where they put electrodes on the surface of your body and you tell your level of stress. But studies have been done that when you declutter your environment, so you have no clutter in your home, in your office, and then after that, tackle the garage and your car and the trunk of your car, you will be happier and more positive and feel empowered. And you will see that that parlays over into the foods you eat and the exercise you choose to get. People keep saying, I'll wait till next spring, I'll wait till January 1st, I'll give away things I haven't worn or used and don't need, and like that lovely book on decluttering that don't spark joy. But it will absolutely change your life for the better if you do this. And a lot of people I work with don't believe me until they get, and I won't work with clients if they live in a cluttered environment. They know that, and they have to first hire me to help them declutter. I have a little side business called Simply Organized, and I love to do it. And then the extra income people make when they've decluttered, the joy and happiness, the better relationships, it's phenomenal. And then I'd end by saying, always cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Remember, it's not the people in your life, the complications, or the times in which you live that cause you to be completely stressed out. Like I said earlier in the show, I'd address this later. It's how you think about the people, the complications, or the times in which we live. And you want to be grateful for everything that's going on in your life, whatever the circumstances, because it's this kind of attitude that will foster happiness and peace of mind and assist you to live more fully. Daily gratitude magnetizes miracles in your life. So, and how do you do it? Maybe practically, maybe have a little gratitude journal, a beautiful journal, and get a beautiful colored pen. And then every night before you go to bed, my grandmother taught me this, write down at least 3 things for which you are grateful. And because when you focus on things for which you are grateful, it literally makes you happier. But Valeria, it changes the vibrational rate, literally at a cellular and subatomic level of your body, which opens you up to more light and really divine guidance. You are filled with light, just like plant-based foods put more light in vibration, good vibration in your body than animal foods. So those would be all the tips that are, nothing's really difficult. It's just a matter of incorporating them into your lifestyle. And I say about commitment, if you're ready for a commitment and you want to achieve a goal, like let's say losing weight, getting in shape, getting healthy, you must arrange your personal circumstances so that your lifestyle totally supports your intentions. No more excuses. And you're in control of this. There are 3 things over which you're in control. One is what you eat, because nobody shoves the food and beverages down your throat, we hope. You're also in charge of how much you move, your exercise, and also what you think about. And the body reflects the mind, and the mind reflects the spirit. And the body is a great place to start. And I'll bottom line it all. I'll summarize it by saying, it's really about learning to love yourself, because when you're under constant stress and you don't manage the stress, and then you make poor food choices and you don't exercise, you're not loving yourself. And when you love yourself and you learn to do it, and you live a balanced life and take loving care of this miraculous body that you have, love will come to you in forms of happiness, health, success, prosperity, peace, joy, and balance. You've got to let your heart light shine brightly every day, and you must become the CEO and president of your health and your body. Step up to the plate today and make different choices and create the best life possible.
Thank you, Susan. It's absolutely marvelous. I love all the tips, and I mean, we can probably talk about each of them for like
an hour or 2. Yes,
because a lot of them, like for me, decluttering, for example, is just such a huge, it actually created a huge change in me and in how I feel and what I see. So yeah, I mean, all the tips are just marvelous. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you know what, Valeria, I'll just, because I know a lot of people right now that are struggling financially. And when you declutter your home, yeah, this is not a difficult thing to do. You just got to make time to do it. And clearly your office space as well, where you often work to earn the income, it has never failed in the few hundred people I've worked with over almost 40 years, helping them with this. I always see people immensely increase the amount of prosperity and income that comes into their life, as well as how much happier they are and empowered, and all of a sudden they have control over their body, because when you live with clutter all around you, even though you think you handle it well, your body doesn't. Your body wants beauty and excellence around you. And this is a whole topic for another show. But
Yes.
when you appreciate beauty, Valeria, you vibrate at a higher level, and that will make you choose better foods and exercise, and you'll be a happier person.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Susan, where can people get a copy of your new book? And is it possible to get a copy that is autographed by you?
Yes, yes. So Wired for High Level Wellness, just go to my website, susansmithjones.com. In the navigation bar, click on New Book. And when you go there, you'll find a way to get a personally autographed copy from me that also comes with a note card to you that I write and a bookmark, and I put it in the envelope, and I go wait in line at the post office, and I love to do that. Or you can go to Amazon.com. But it's easy to get, and it's all about holistic health and lifestyle and how to create the healthiest life possible. It's selling actually all over the planet right now, but my favorite way to have someone get my book is if I can personally autograph it and give you a note card that you could use as a keepsake for me forever.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your work and dedication to people's happiness. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you, Valeria. I look forward to our next visit.